Saturday during the vote, we did say this is not the solution to North Korea. What this does do is this kicks him in the gut. This goes right after the hard currency. He's going to feel it, and all that money that he's been using for his ballistic missile program, you know, and he's not feeding his people, it just got reduced in a big way. What we are saying is now the ball's in your court. Kim now has to decide, is he going to turn around and say, okay, the international community is telling me to stop, or is he going to have, you know, a temper tantrum?
All right, that was the UN Ambassador Nikki Haley earlier today on Fox and Friends talking about the new North Korean sanctions. And by the way, China and Russia joined in with the United States. We continue with former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich, author of the bestseller Understanding Trump. Mr. Speaker, I just tried to lay out a history. There's always been this naive belief about peace in our time, and Neville Chamberlain is the classic example that everybody uses. And then we look at, for example, what Bill Clinton did with the North Koreans that allowed him to get to where we are today. We saw Barack Obama, I believe, naively handing over billions and billions of dollars. And I believe he naively thinks that they're going to abide by the agreement. My question is, when the president says fire, fury, and power, and Dianne Feinstein calls him bombastic and further isolate North Korea, and then she suggests bilateral talks with Kim Jong-un, I'm just thinking, you don't get it. You don't understand. This is not, you can't negotiate with crazy people like this.
Well, look, I think that, as Ambassador Nikki Haley said, the entire civilized world sent a pretty powerful signal at the UN, a unanimous vote for more severe sanctions. The question is, will it have any effect? I think the key to American national security planning with Korea now is start with the assumption that none of this works. Then what do you need to do? And what I tried to outline in the last segment is there are a number of very bold, very powerful steps we could take if we acted on a wartime basis, if we said this is an existential threat, millions of American lives are at stake, many millions of South Korean lives are at stake, many millions of Japanese lives are at stake, and to be fair, millions of North Korean lives are at stake. We should be moving with an intensity and an aggressiveness, cutting through the bureaucracy, developing a series of steps, as I outlined in the last segment, that enables us to say to North Korea, we don't need to contain you diplomatically. If you decide to behave in a stupid way, we are surrounding you with mechanisms which will coerce you, make you harmless, and ultimately crush you. So the ball's in your court. You want to be eliminated. We're going to have the assets to do it. We don't particularly want to do it. In fact, we'd like to negotiate, but it's your call, not our call. What we cannot do is have another decade of piously hoping that sanctions and diplomacy and talk are going to be a substitute for very profound change in North Korea, and there is zero evidence we're going to see profound change.
I love what you're saying, especially about the missile technology to take out, and we do have some great anti-ballistic missile technology available to us, but when you talk about what the lasers that you're discussing and 40 opportunities to take them out, I've always said that I thought President Reagan's greatest legacy, you know, through the prism of history, will be his vision about strategic defense, and he was mocked greatly for it. Let's say, like in World War II, we have a coalition. The former Soviet Union was our enemy. We aligned against Nazi Germany. My question is, even if we have a world alliance that included China, Israel, Russia, Western Europe, the United States, and we even combine military forces to take out their sites, isn't this answer is the obliteration of North Korea and the risk that he launches weapons before he's obliterated?
Well, I think that's why you have to invest very dramatically now in much more redundant systems of killing missiles. You cannot afford to rely on a very sophisticated, very limited number of missiles who do not have a track record of being able to cope with any significant launch. If you were to launch 3 to 5 missiles, I doubt very much if we would get more than 1 or 2 of them right now. So you want to build a system that's a layered defense We know how to do this. We studied how to do it against the Soviets, and remember, they had thousands of missiles. So President Reagan was suggesting a defensive system on a much bigger scale than you'd need against North Korea. We also want to have very targeted weapons. We don't want to kill lots and lots of North Koreans, but we may need very high hypersonic missiles delivering very large conventional weapons to very specific sites. So what we do is we strip North Korea of specific weapons. Right, well, but I think that's a very low risk. I think physicists...
Okay. Mr. Speaker, always love your knowledge of history on this important news night. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.